name is Erna Sauer Bratt, S-A-U-E-R, Bratt, B-R-A-T-T. I'm born in Poland, Dąbrowa Górnicza, in Zagłębie. My father's name was Shai. My mother's name was Hannah Steinfeld. I had an oldest brother, Moishe Yankee Steinfeld. He's not with us anymore. I had an older sister, Lima. I had a very dear brother, Yossel, which she left us last year. I do have a sister which lives in Toronto, Canada, Rose. And me, myself, and I, still sitting here and talking to you. And it was a joy growing up because I had aunts, I had uncles, I had cousins. I'm coming from a very religious background. This was almost for each and every Jew that lived in Dąbrowa and all over. Everybody was religious. We didn't know any other way of living. The neighborhood was all Jewish. In the early 30s, I do remember there was no light and no running water. But we were privileged to have running water in the back of our house, where our neighbors used to come and buy a pail of water for 2 Groschen, that means 2 pennies, which wasn't much, but they had to pay 2 pennies for it. I loved to go to the library. I spent a lot of times, and at that time you had to pay for the library too. It wasn't like they say here, a free library, you had to pay. But I remember, first of all, we knew and we heard a lot of it. My brother bought a radio which was put on the outside on a table so everybody could hear it because it was something very important and a little unusual for a family to have a radio. And we heard that a war is coming with the Germans. My brother Yossel was drafted to the Polish army. And then my father said, maybe we're going to run away from Dąbrowa because they didn't come that close. And maybe we go to another city that they expect them to invade that city later. So he took the horse and wagon, we loaded some belongings, and we traveled by foot and with the wagon, and with us were thousands and thousands of Jewish people. They traveled too, but they didn't know where they're going, and we didn't know where we're going. My father had a brother in Pinchov, Dąbrowa, P-I-N-C-Z-O-W. And we figured maybe there will be a peaceful place to hide. We went to Pinchov, and there was a big resistance. The Germans were there too. And there was a big resistance, and they burned the whole city. And my father decided, let's go back home. Maybe we can settle down and live maybe a little bit peacefully. So we came back to Dąbrowa from Pinchov. And we were lucky because our house was still standing there, so we got into our house. Every few weeks, the head of the Jewish community center let us know that we have to give for the Germans, mainly money and jewelry. And every time, I remember my mother had a big, long gold chain. Every time my mother and father, they cut off a piece of the gold and gave it away, with money too. Maybe around 41, at that times we got like a yellow star and it said Jude. So we should be recognized from the rest of other people. And then after a while, they started the SS and the Gestapo. They used to come around at night and they used to say, Juden raus, Jews out. They took every time a lot of Jewish children, a lot of old people, and they sent them away like a raid, and we didn't know where they went. We had like a double wall, so when we heard something, we were hiding in that little double wall, and it was covered with a big dresser in our big room. And sometimes we're lucky, and sometimes we're not so lucky. And at 41, my sister Rose, she went to a camp. They came at night, and they made a raid, and everybody has to go out. If you manage to hide somewhere, you were lucky, and if not, you have to come out. If not, they got into the inside and drag you out. And then they said, you go to the left, and you go to the right, and that's how it started. So she was the first one to leave our home. My oldest brother was taken again. And of course, if you didn't make it quick out, you were beaten and harassed. And after my brother, it was like my oldest sister. She went with her husband with the 2 kids. At that time, they were 3 years old, twins. They were taken. And then my mother, so every few months another member of the family went. So it was very painful to see what's happening to us, to our Jewish family. And then there came a time that they made, it was called Judenrein, free of Jews. So everybody had to go to a place with the name of Shladula. And from there, it didn't take long, and everybody was deported. We never knew where, but we heard that this is a place that you never come back from. And since I didn't have any family, I decided to run away from Shladula. I took my life in my hands. Whatever will be, will be. Because there was no any future anyhow. So I went through fields, and every minute I thought a German will spot me, a German guard, and he's going to kill me. I went back to Dąbrowa, to a family that they used to be our customers. The family name was Kasprzek, K-A-S-P-R-Z-E-K. I was hidden in a barn there. A jail is a heaven compared to that one. But look, I was alive, and I thought maybe this will come to a quick end, and we'll be free again. And of course, you have to give something to the family that they kept you, the Polish, because they won't keep you without anything. So I said, look, I don't have nothing with me. And there was a son. I said, but if you come with me, and we might find something. Before everybody was taken away in our house, my father took me, and he said to me, here's a jar, one jar, another jar, and another jar. Here's a bottle, and look what I'm going to do. Here's money, and here's jewelry, and here are gold coins. Come with me, and look. I'm going to hide them under the step in a barn. Maybe someday, when you or somebody else from our family will live through, you come back and find them. And that's what he did. So when the night fell, one of the family from the Kasprzek went with me back home. And we took off that step, and we took out some money and some jewelry. Just one step. And I gave it to them, and they kept me for a while. And then I found out there was another place, and the people who did hide some of my family, where the name of it was Wolska, W-O-L-S-K-A. And in that I found my oldest brother's wife. Her name was Steinfeld. Then I found her sister. Her name was Rose Pills. Then I found another brother. His name was Itzik Pills. Then I found another nephew with the name of Teugel Pills. And then was a neighbor from our street that we used to live just down the street. And the name was Lyosha Honigstein, and her husband Menashe Honigstein. And then I came in. There were 7 Jews of us hiding in a small cell. She always complains that we didn't give her enough money, we didn't give her enough jewelry. And the more she complains, the more we gave her, because after all, we were hidden there. So we stayed there till around the beginning of 1944. One day she went and she reported us to the German authority, to the Gestapo. Then they came, took us all out and outside. They surrounded the house again like we would be murderers, that was weekly. And they shouted us and they beat us. And they said to us, You verfluchte Jude. It means the words that you can express for anything. You verfluchte Jude. And come with us. And at any minute we were ready to be shot and finished with our lives. Before I knew that we were going to get reported, I had one gold coin left, and I gave it to Laura. I said, you keep it, because she was old and she was smart. I said, you keep one. That was it. So when we came out from that house, we were transported by a truck, and we didn't know where we were going. A short time after, we found out that we came to a concentration camp named Auschwitz-Birkenau. We knew ahead of time that we heard that Auschwitz was a death camp. But there was nothing that we could help ourselves of not going there.
Were the 7 of you together?
There were 7 of us together.
And you all went to Auschwitz?
We all went to Auschwitz. The girls and the boys were separated from us. We 4 girls, myself, and Losha, and Raicha, and Rose, we kept together, and the boys went to another place in Auschwitz. So the first thing what happened to us when we came to Auschwitz, our hair was cut off. It was shaved off everything. We started crying, and when we looked at each other, we couldn't recognize ourselves. We came with nice clothes, with decent clothes, and we were given old schmatters, old rags. I had a pair of shoes, they both were left, 2 left shoes. And we were left to God, whatever it's going to be, because we didn't know what the next hour brings, not the day, but the next hour. We used to take big stones and cut them into small stones. And then we used to take the big stones and load it on lorries. It was small wagons, and we used to push them to the destination because they were building roads. We were building roads. And this was a really hard job to pick up those stones and push them on the wagons. The weather was hot. My feet started to swell. And a few months later, they were so swollen that I couldn't stay on it, so I organized some rags like schmatters and put them around so the swelling would not be as much. So one night we were called outside for a Zellapel. Zellapel is the name they counted. And little did I know that this might be the end of me. The Zellapel consisted like some people at the left, some going to the right. So the man who was in charge was Mengele. So if he didn't like a face, or he didn't like the frame of the people, or whatever, he put them in another row, and the healthier put them in another row. So I might not look so healthy to him with my swollen feet. So he put me to the left. When he put me to the left, short while after, I found out that the left side will go. They call it Krematorium, Vernichtung in German, to finish them up. So Laosha found out and Raicha found out. So they went to the block älteste from our block that we were living. And she knew us when we came, how we looked when we came from home. And Laosha still had that gold coin. And she said to the block älteste, you know, let's try, maybe we can bribe somebody there in the selection group, and maybe we can get Erna out. And they tried. And she took that coin. She gave it to the block älteste. Miraculously, I came back to the group that they were designated to go back to war. I never forget how I felt at that time. We used to sleep 4 of us girls, and it was called a koya. This was just boards with a few schmatters, not blanket. Schmatters, it's rags. And the block number was 27. I never knew. At night we used to see a flame, and we used to hear faint noises, and we didn't know what it is until we find out that not far away from us, a few hundred feet, there was the crematorium. And at night, you still could see the smoke. You still could see the burning fire and the faint screams from the flesh and from the people whose life was taken away. It was very hard to live in those circumstances. We hadn't been given enough food. We were hungry. One time, Menashe was at the sick room at the Revier, so he was lucky because he was able to save some more bread. We're not talking about nothing else but bread. And when we used to march to work, many times, we used to run away from the line and go to the barb-loaded wire, and he was watching that when we go, and he threw the barbed wire and a piece of paper, some bread for us. One time, I went to catch a piece of bread. The wire was loaded, and I caught on the wire. I couldn't pull myself away, and I said, okay. We were ready for death any minute. We couldn't care for life. Life wasn't under humane circumstances. You didn't have your family, so you really didn't care anymore for life. So I said, okay, this is the day. Miraculously, I pulled myself away from that wire. I don't know how. I was beaten so hard that I couldn't join the march. So I was left for a while, and then I said, I can do it. And I went back. I still can see in front of my eyes the barbed wire and the guards, and how I hanged myself on it, just touching it. I was just, momentarily, I was pressed to it without being able to get away from it. God was with me, and I pulled myself away. I would like to show you what else I got at the very beginning when I came to Auschwitz, so that I got a step farther. I got tattooed on my left arm. My numbers are 76339, and I begin to show it to you. For that many years, it's still here. The triangle underneath my numbers means that I'm a Jewish prisoner. Only because I'm Jew. That's why I got the triangle. From Auschwitz, like about the early part of fall in 1994, we were transported again. We didn't know where we're going. We came to another concentration camp with the name of Ravensbrück. In Ravensbrück, we stayed for 3 weeks only. We just cleaned the barracks and outside. The menu for life there was only one thing: starvation and war. But no food. From Ravensbrück, we got loaded on trucks again. We 4 girls tried to be it all the time together. And the 4 of us, after a long journey, we came to another concentration camp, and it was called Malchow. In Malchow, the real starvation started, and the real hunger started. Why remember Malchow? In Malchow, we used to work for an ammunition factory. I remember the bullets that used to come out from the machine. The factory was hidden in a forest, so you never knew that there was such a factory. And that Malchow, to get a piece of bread, you might have to pay with your life. We had so little to eat that we started losing weight, and it's called Musselmänner, like we were like living skeletons. I used to get up very early in the morning, like 4 o'clock. And I was so hungry that I went to look for the garbage where the kitchen was. And if I found some peels, potato peels, I was so lucky. I took it home, I called it home. We took it to the 3 other girls that were. And at least we had a meal. We cleaned it as much as we could. If I found a potato between that garbage, it was a holiday. At one time I got so beaten that this was the end. But I don't know where I got the strength and I came alive again. One of the 4 of us with the name of Rose, she was a little bit stronger than I. So one time on a telephone when they said, who did this, so she stood up for me and she got beaten for me. That's how close we were. There was one wish that I had in Malchow. Before I die, I should sit at a table, had a big loaf of bread, and eat as much as my heart desires. And God, that wish came true. But my experiences between Auschwitz and Malchow, it's hard to talk about it. It's hard to describe about it. Because what I went through, even in a short time, it is unbelievable that I made it through. I just don't believe myself. It's me sitting here and telling you all those stories. It was meant that I should live through. After a few months being in Malchow, trucks came and planes were flying over our head. And we thought we're going to be bombarded again, and this will be the end. But instead, we were taken away to the unknown again. We were pulled in trucks. We were sure those were Germans, and they taking us to a place where they finish out with our lives. This was April 28, 1945. At one time, the truck stopped, and we were loaded on trains to trains. At that particular moment, we were told that we are liberated, and the place was in Denmark, in Copenhagen. And we looked at each other, and we were so numb from what we lived through, and we just couldn't understand what they meant. We were free, we liberated. All of a sudden, we see through the window in the train a big pile of potatoes. And most of the girls ran out to that pile and organized those potatoes and took them back to the train. I was too weak. I didn't have any strength anymore. And I didn't go for the potatoes. They got sick. They got the diarrhea. And they didn't live the day to be really liberated. The potatoes finished their life, the raw potato. In Copenhagen, we found out that the people who took us in the trucks that was to mean the liberation, and it was the liberation, was the Swedish Red Cross. But at that time we didn't know who they were. We were sure this was Germans, private Germans. We were taken to a city in Sweden, Lund, and the Swedish people did all in the world to help us nourish. At the beginning we wanted to eat, but we were like slowly, each day a little bit more. We were already more alive than we were during all those times. And the people were so helpful. They didn't know what to do with us. They were so friendly. It's unbelievable. So in Sweden, I didn't walk at the beginning. All I was doing was writing letters and trying to find family and friends who should be alive. In the middle of 1946, I got a telegram that my brother Yosel and my sister Rose are alive. I don't know how to say that happiness. My God, I have a sister and I have a brother, they're alive. So we started to make arrangements to get together. At that time, the world was ours already. We were so thrilled. Oh my God. We made it. So, on the 27th of September of 1947, I went to Straubing to get together with my brother Yosel and with my sister Rose and their families. They were married at that time. And my brother used to say, what do you want to do? I said, I do anything. He said, you want to go to work somewhere? I said, sure. I went to the work for the Jewish Community Center in Straubing. It was called at that time Jüdische Gemeinde, like the Jewish Community Center. So in Straubing, I met a man, and his name was Zelig. Everybody wanted to establish a family. And in 1949, I got engaged to Zelig. In 1950, we got married. And just a few weeks after we got married, we came to America. I came to a city with the name of Rochester, New York. We were happy, worked hard. I went to a factory and I worked hard, and Zelig worked every day of the week. I wanted for $25 a week. But we were happy, we were free, and we could eat a lot, and that was so beautiful. And so soon we got married, so soon I got pregnant, because at that time we didn't know about birth control, and you were too dumb to understand and to know it. We'd never learned those things. It's not America. So, on January 24th, 1951, my oldest son, Harry, was born in Rochester. And it was unreal, unbelievable. I was able to deliver a son after all those tourists. It's just like a miracle from God. And it was a happy time because we were healthy and we worked. And if you work, you make a living. That's all you care for. But my happiness didn't last too long. Zelig started to get sick. And before he got sick, I have one more son, Stuart Erna Sauer. And he was born October 14, 1955 in Rochester. On July 12th of 1961, I lost a dear husband, Zelig, and my kids lost a dear father. I was left with 2 young kids, and at that time we didn't have too much money, and we barely were established. And the second chapter of my life has to begin again. So after a few years, it's something happening, and another life is torn away from me. My brother at that time, he made plans to come to live in Philadelphia. I took the young kids. We started chapter 2 in Philadelphia. It was rough, but the kids went to school. They did beautifully. They never gave me a hard time. They grew up without pushing and asking and telling them to do. They just were self-controlled about life and about everything. I didn't have to work hard to convince them about certain things. Respect. Whatever I said, that was done. I met a man in Philly. His name is Harold. In Jewish is Tzvi. B-R-A-T-T. Like they say in Jewish, mit jedem Glück ist ein Glück. It means with each unhappiness there comes happiness. In Jewish it comes out nicely. July 25th of 1964, we got married. My brother moved from Philadelphia to Cherry Hill. My brother said, come to Cherry Hill, and you'll be able to make a better living, an easier living. Packed up, we moved to Cherry Hill. We opened up a delicatessen, and we made it. We made it, and we are a happy family. Whenever there's yonder, special occasions, we spend together, and all we need is a good health. And a little muzzle too. It wouldn't help. And the grandchildren keeps me busy. So when Johnny was 3-4 years old, and Emily, Bobby, what's the number on your arm? And I said to them, look, it's my telephone number. I said, no, Bobby, tell her. I said, look, when you get older, I'll tell you later. I just would like to mention that all my bitter experiences in the concentration camp, all that what was torn apart from us, many, many, many nights I don't sleep. I dream about it. I scream about it. It is haunting me all my life. I cannot get rid of it. If it wouldn't be for hell to wake me up, I don't know. It's like you wake up and you sweat and you say, where am I? What am I doing? Where am I? Until you get your thoughts together and you figure, oh, it's not Auschwitz, it's not Malchow, it's not Ravensbrück. I'm free. And this happens very often. It left a mark on me for the rest of my life, which will never, never, never be forgotten.